What happens when a black woman walks into a boardroom, and everyone assumes she's the help? They mocked her. Ordered her to serve coffee. But what they didn't know. She wasn't there to take orders. She was there, to take over the billion. Before we begin, let me know where you're watching from, and name one place where you've seen quiet strength win over loud arrogance. Now, watch what happens next. Excuse me, the voice rang out, entitled, impatient, and laced with dismissal. We've been waiting on coffee, he added, voice clipped. Too black, no sugar. You're late. Elaine didn't flinch. Her gaze flicked to him, calculating, composed, and unreadable. She stood there in a tailored navy suit with soft pearl earrings and a pin bearing the emblem of Meridian Equity, her company. The heels she wore were Italian leather, polished and bold. She was anything but the assistant he assumed her to be. Still, he didn't see her. The man turned toward a group of 3 other executives standing near the glass-walled conference room. Service here's gotten slow, he muttered loud enough for her to hear, she must be new. Elaine's lips curved into something between a smirk and a smile. Not out of anger, but clarity. It was always interesting who people revealed themselves to be when they thought you were beneath them. I'll see what I can do, she said, not coldly, not warmly, just evenly. She had learned a long time ago that true power never rushes. He waved her off. Try a little faster, yeah. Her heels echoed softly on the polished marble floors as she walked away, passing by the secretary's desk, then down the hallway where wide glass panels framed the city skyline. One of the interns, a young South Asian woman, gave her a knowing look, half apology, half disbelief. Elaine offered a brief nod in return. She arrived early on purpose. She wanted to see the culture, the temperature of the room, and, sometimes, the rot in the walls. Today, she had found it. As she turned a corner, she pulled her phone from her blazer pocket and checked the time. 7 minutes until the acquisition announcement. The biggest merger of the quarter. The room that mistook her for help would soon discover they were reporting to her. Elaine smiled again, wider this time. The coffee could wait. But their awakening? That was right on schedule. Elaine stood quietly just outside the conference room, near a structural column wrapped in smoked glass. She had chosen this spot intentionally, close enough to hear, far enough to be ignored. Inside, the laughter began. Kevin, the man from earlier, stood like he owned the room. She looked lost, probably her first day. Couldn't even find the damn coffee machine, he said to his colleagues, chuckling. Another chimed in, yeah, HR really lowering standards lately. Elaine listened, her face unreadable. She wasn't new to this type of casual, careless superiority. Racism disguised as professionalism. Mockery masked as banter. They didn't see her, not really. They saw what their biases told them to. And so she let them speak. Let them dig their hole with silver-plated spoons. Bet she's some junior admin lost, nervous. Did you see how she smiled? Like she was grateful for the attention. Kevin laughed again, tipping the rest of his coffee into the trash. Elaine's fingers brushed the folder in her hand, thick, cream-colored cardstock embossed with gold, confidential briefing, CEO transition and strategic takeover plan. It had her name on every page. She remembered what her grandmother used to say when people insulted her. Don't rise with heat. Rise with height. And that's what she had done all her life, walked through doors that were never meant for her, then rebuilt the rooms from the inside. Quietly. Gracefully. Just then, her assistant, Maria, approached, clutching a tablet. They're ready for you, ma'am. 5 minutes. Elaine nodded, eyes still fixed on the scene unfolding inside. Kevin leaned on the table now, explaining why the merger wouldn't change much. Granton Holdings is the dominant player. Whoever's acquiring us is just riding our coattails. Elaine's expression didn't flicker. Her power wasn't in correcting them. It was in revealing the truth, on her terms. She stepped back into the light, adjusted her collar, and turned toward the conference doors. They'd all find out in a matter of minutes, not just who she was, but what real leadership looked like. No announcements. No drama. Just precision. And presence. And that, she knew, was far more disarming than any coffee. The conference room doors opened with a soft click. All heads turned. The air shifted. Elaine entered, not slowly, not hurriedly, but with a stride that owned space without demanding it. She held the confidential folder in one hand, her phone tucked away, her eyes sweeping the room just once, measured, calm. Kevin's face dropped. He blinked as if he couldn't trust what he was seeing. The assistant from earlier now stood at the head of the table, the seat reserved for leadership. His seat. At least, that's what he had assumed. The silence was crushing. "Good morning," Elaine began, placing the folder on the polished table. "I'm Elaine Walters, CEO of Meridian Equity." A wave of stunned confusion rippled across the room. One executive's pen slipped from his fingers. Another coughed into his hand, trying to recover composure. Kevin didn't move. His face was blank, pale. His eyes darted to the coffee cup still resting on the side table. Elaine continued, her voice clear, smooth like silk stretched over steel. "As of this morning, Meridian has completed its acquisition of Granton Holdings. The merger marks a new chapter, one built not on assumptions or legacy pride, but on performance, purpose, and people." Her gaze lingered for a moment on Kevin. Not sharp. Not cruel. Just honest. "I believe leadership is less about how loudly you speak and more about how deeply you listen. So today, I'll be listening. But I'll also be making decisions, firm ones." One executive cleared his throat and mumbled, "We weren't expecting." Elaine smiled. "No. I'm sure you weren't." She took the seat at the head of the table, opened her folder, and sipped from the cup of black coffee she had brought in herself. A symbolic silence hung in the air, one that didn't need explanation. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Especially Kevin, who now sat rigid, as if each tick of the wall clock was carving regret into his spine. Elaine flipped a page. "Let's begin." In that moment, no one questioned her title, her place, or her authority. Because she hadn't taken over just the company. She had taken over the room. The meeting had ended, but the atmosphere still buzzed with shock. Elaine stood calmly gathering her papers, pausing only when she heard hesitant footsteps behind her. "Ms. Walters?" Kevin's voice was quiet, stripped of its earlier arrogance. "Could I speak with you privately for a moment?" She glanced over her shoulder, then nodded once. They stepped into a smaller meeting room adjacent to the boardroom. The frosted glass offered a blurry view of the now scattered executives. Kevin stood awkwardly, wringing his hands, no longer the man who had ordered coffee like a king summoning a servant. "I want to apologize," he began. "I didn't know who you were. I made an assumption. A terrible one." Elaine didn't interrupt. She let him speak. That, in itself, was power. I thought you were staff. You didn't look like." He stopped himself. "Like a CEO?" she finished, her tone calm, without venom. Kevin nodded, shame spreading across his face. "Yes. That was wrong. I was wrong." Elaine walked slowly to the window, looking out at the skyline. The city pulsed below them, unaware of the moment unfolding above. She turned, finally speaking. "Kevin, this isn't the first time I've been misjudged. And it won't be the last. But understand this, your mistake wasn't not knowing who I was. It was believing you knew who I wasn't." He looked at her, eyes lowered. "I didn't get here by demanding titles," she continued. "I got here by learning when to speak, when to lead, and when to simply observe. What you did today told me everything I needed to know, not just about your bias, but about your leadership." "I'm truly sorry," he repeated, more sincerely now. Elaine nodded. "You'll remain at Granton under Meridian's new leadership. But you'll be undergoing training, real training, not just about mergers or policy, but about people. About culture. About the harm of unchecked assumptions. Kevin exhaled, visibly relieved. Thank you. Elaine stepped toward the door, then paused. One more thing, she said, voice soft. You said I looked grateful for your attention. But Kevin. I wasn't. I was watching. And now that I've seen enough, I'll be leaving. She left him there, still, silent, and finally listening. Elaine returned to the conference room, now quieter than before. The tension had given way to a kind of solemn curiosity, like the room was still adjusting to the new gravity she brought with her. She stood near the main screen, now lit with a simple title slide. Meridian Equity Plus Granton Holdings, a shared future. There were no fireworks. No bravado. Just clarity. Elaine didn't need to raise her voice to be heard. Every word she spoke felt like it came from somewhere rooted, deeper than just business. We're not here just to change names on letterheads, she said, eyes scanning the room. We're here to change how leadership feels in these walls. If we only inherit your assets and ignore your blind spots, this merger will fail, no matter how large the numbers are. Some executives exchanged glances, subtle, thoughtful, a few even nodding. This is your chance, she continued, to become part of a company that doesn't lead with ego, but with intention. Where respect is earned and given equally, whether someone's in a power suit or serving the coffee. Kevin didn't speak. He didn't need to. His silence was its own confession. The presentation closed with a simple black slide. Leadership redefined. Applause broke out, tentative at first, then full and sustained. Not the performative kind. The kind that follows truth. As the room emptied, Elaine stepped into the hallway. Maria, her assistant, approached with a small envelope. It's from Mr. Roland Winston, she said. Chairman Emeritus. Elaine opened it slowly, revealing a handwritten note in looping script. For decades, they built walls to keep us out. Thank you for walking in through the front door anyway. You didn't just take over a company, you reminded them who we are. R.W. She folded the note and placed it gently into her inner coat pocket, her fingers lingering for just a second. As she entered the elevator, her reflection stared back at her, sharp, grounded, whole. The doors slid shut slowly, sealing behind her the old world that had doubted her, mocked her, and underestimated her. But she didn't slam any doors. She simply opened new ones, and walked through them with grace. The billion-dollar acquisition made headlines. But the real takeover? That happened in their hearts, their minds, and their silence.